The rain poured mercilessly that night as Emma Reeves, CEO of Horizon Technologies, lay unconscious in her overturned Tesla on a deserted country road. Miles from civilization with no cell service, she would have died there, if not for the headlights of a beat-up pickup truck and the quick thinking of a man who had nothing but gave everything. What happened next would change both their lives forever, and the way she found him after he disappeared from the hospital would leave the world speechless. If you're moved by stories of life-changing kindness and unexpected connections, hit that like button now and subscribe to see more incredible true stories that restore faith in humanity. Jack Sullivan never considered himself a hero. At 34, his life revolved around two things: his 8-year-old daughter Lily and the endless struggle to make ends meet. Since losing his wife to cancer 3 years ago, he'd been working double shifts at the local factory and weekend handyman jobs just to keep their small apartment and put food on the table. That rainy Tuesday night, Jack was driving home after fixing a neighbor's leaky roof, an extra $20 in his pocket that would help with Lily's school supplies. The storm had intensified, making the winding back roads treacherous, but it was the quickest route home to relieve the teenage babysitter who had homework to finish. Just 10 more minutes, he muttered to himself, squinting through the windshield as the wipers fought a losing battle against the downpour. That's when he saw it, the faint red glow of taillights through the trees, at an unnatural angle. Jack slowed his truck, peering through the darkness. Something wasn't right. He pulled over, grabbed his flashlight from the glove compartment, and stepped out into the rain. What he found sent adrenaline coursing through his body. A luxury car had skidded off the road, flipped onto its side, and crashed into a ditch. Steam hissed from the crumpled hood, mixing with the rain to create an eerie fog around the wreckage. "Hello? Can you hear me?" Jack called out, shining his flashlight through the cracked driver's window. Inside, a woman in an elegant suit was slumped against her seatbelt, blood trickling from a gash on her forehead. She wasn't moving. Jack tried the door, but it was jammed. The smell of gasoline grew stronger. Without hesitation, he grabbed a tire iron from his truck and smashed the rear window, clearing away the glass before carefully climbing inside. "Ma'am? Can you hear me?" The woman remained unconscious as Jack checked her pulse, weak but present. With the smell of gasoline intensifying, he knew they didn't have much time. He carefully unbuckled her seatbelt, supporting her weight to prevent further injury, and began the painstaking process of extracting her from the wreckage. Just as he carried her a safe distance away, the car erupted in flames, illuminating the night in a violent orange glow. Jack laid the woman gently on the ground, covered her with his jacket, and ran back to his truck to call for help, only to find no cell service in the remote area. "Hang on," he told the unconscious woman, loading her carefully into his passenger seat. "I'm getting you to a hospital." For the next 20 minutes, Jack drove faster than he ever had, constantly checking on his passenger while navigating the treacherous roads. The woman stirred occasionally, moaning in pain but never fully regaining consciousness. "Stay with me," Jack kept saying. "My daughter's waiting for me, and I bet someone's waiting for you too." When they finally reached Riverside Memorial Hospital, Jack carried her through the emergency room doors, shouting for help. Medical staff rushed forward with a gurney, taking over as Jack stepped back, suddenly aware of his soaked clothes and the blood, her blood, on his hands and shirt. "What's her name?" a nurse asked as they wheeled her away. "I don't know," Jack replied. "Found her in a car wreck on County Road 16. While doctors worked to save the woman's life, Jack called his babysitter to explain the situation, promising to be home soon. He filled out a brief statement for hospital administration, leaving only his first name and declining to provide contact information. He didn't want recognition or reward, he'd simply done what anyone should do. "Is she going to be okay?" he asked a nurse before leaving. "Thanks to you, she has a fighting chance," the nurse replied. "You saved her life tonight." Jack nodded, glancing one last time toward the trauma room where the woman lay. Then he slipped out into the night, driving home to his daughter, never expecting to hear about the incident again. Emma Reeves woke up 3 days later in a private hospital room, surrounded by anxious executives and her personal assistant, all looking relieved to see her conscious. "What happened?" she asked, her voice raspy from the breathing tube that had been removed only hours earlier. "You were in a car accident," her assistant, Marcus, explained. "Your car went off the road during that terrible storm. The doctors say you had a severe concussion, 3 broken ribs, and internal bleeding. If you hadn't gotten to the hospital when you did." His voice trailed off. Emma tried to piece together her fragmented memories. She remembered leaving a business dinner, deciding to take the scenic route home, then the blinding rain and her car hydroplaning. Everything after that was darkness. "How did I get here?" she asked. Marcus hesitated. "That's the thing, nobody knows exactly. According to the hospital, some man brought you in. Carried you through the doors himself. But he left before anyone could get his details. Just said he found you on County Road 16. Emma frowned. "Someone found me and brought me here? In that storm?" "Yes. The police found your car, or what was left of it. It caught fire after the crash. If that man hadn't come along when he did." Marcus didn't need to finish the sentence. As Emma recovered over the next week, the identity of her rescuer became increasingly important to her. At 42, she had built Horizon Technologies from a small startup into a multi-billion-dollar company. She had achieved everything she'd ever wanted professionally, but her personal life was empty: no husband, no children, few real friends. Just an endless parade of business associates and people who wanted something from her. But this stranger had saved her life without knowing who she was, without expecting anything in return. The thought haunted her. "I need to find him," she told Marcus from her hospital bed. "I need to thank him properly." "We've tried," Marcus replied. "The hospital has no record except his first name, Jack. No last name, no contact information. The police have no leads either." Emma's eyes narrowed with determination. "I didn't build a technology empire by accepting no for an answer. Find him, Marcus. Whatever it takes." 2 weeks after the accident, Jack Sullivan was working his Saturday shift at the factory when his supervisor called him into the office. "Sullivan, there's someone here to see you," the supervisor said, looking uncomfortable. "Says it's important." Jack followed him to the break room, where a sharply dressed man in his 30s stood waiting, a tablet in hand. "Mr. Sullivan?" "I'm Marcus Chen, executive assistant to Emma Reeves, CEO of Horizon Technologies." Jack's blank expression made it clear the name meant nothing to him. "The woman you rescued from the car accident 2 weeks ago," Marcus clarified. Jack's eyes widened. "She's okay?" "Thanks to you, yes. Ms. Reeves would like to meet you, to thank you personally." Jack shifted uncomfortably. "That's not necessary. I just did what anyone would do." "But not everyone would disappear without leaving their name," Marcus countered. "It took us considerable effort to find you." "How did you?" Jack asked, genuinely curious. Marcus smiled slightly. "Ms. Reeves has resources. Hospital security footage, traffic cameras, your license plate, facial recognition software. Once she was determined to find you, it was just a matter of time." Jack felt a chill. The power this woman wielded was slightly unnerving. "Look, I appreciate the thought, but I'm not comfortable with all this attention. I have a daughter to think about. Ms. Reeves understands completely. She's simply asking for one meeting, at your convenience. After that, if you wish to have no further contact, she'll respect your decision." Jack hesitated, then nodded reluctantly. "Fine. One meeting." The following Sunday, Jack found himself driving with Lily to an address in the city's most exclusive neighborhood. He'd refused to meet without his daughter. Sunday was their only full day together, and to his surprise, Ms. Reeves had readily agreed, suggesting they come for lunch. "Is she a princess?" Daddy?" Lily asked as they approached the massive gates of a modernist mansion overlooking the city. Jack smiled at his daughter's wide-eyed wonder. "No, sweetheart. She's a businesswoman. She makes computers or something." The gates opened automatically as they approached, and Jack drove his old pickup up the immaculate driveway, feeling increasingly out of place. A valet appeared as they parked, but Jack declined, preferring to keep his keys. At the front door, they were greeted not by a butler as Jack had half expected, but by Emma Reeves herself. She was tall and elegant, her dark hair cut in a precise bob, wearing simple but obviously expensive casual clothes. A small scar was visible near her hairline, the only visible reminder of the accident. "Mr. Sullivan," she said, extending her hand. "I can't tell you how grateful I am that you're here." Her eyes moved to Lily, and her professional demeanor softened. "And you must be Lily. Your dad told me you're 8 years old. Is that right?" Lily nodded shyly, half hiding behind Jack's leg. "Well, I have something special for 8-year-olds, Emma said. "Would you like to see?" Lily looked up at her father, who nodded encouragingly, and then followed Emma into the house. Jack trailed behind, taking in the minimalist luxury of the home, all clean lines, floor-to-ceiling windows, and tasteful art. It was beautiful but felt more like a museum than a home. Emma led them to a sunlit room that, to Jack's surprise, had been set up with children's art supplies, books, and games. A young woman waited there, introducing herself as Zoe, a child development specialist who worked with Emma's charitable foundation. "I thought Lily might enjoy some activities while we talk," Emma explained. "Unless you'd prefer she stay with us?" Jack looked at Lily, who was already eyeing the art supplies with interest. "Is that okay with you, Lily Pad? Dad will be just in the next room." After Lily nodded her approval, Emma led Jack to an adjoining patio overlooking a lush garden and the city skyline beyond. A table was set for lunch, and as they sat, Jack finally asked the question that had been bothering him. "How did you really find me? Your assistant mentioned facial recognition and tracking my license plate. That seems excessive." Emma met his gaze directly. "It was. I apologize for the invasion of privacy. But I needed to thank the man who saved my life, and you made it extraordinarily difficult by disappearing." "I didn't want recognition," Jack said simply. "Which only made me more determined to find you," Emma replied. "Do you know how rare it is in my world to meet someone who does something extraordinary and doesn't want anything in return? I had to understand why." Jack shrugged. "There's nothing to understand. You needed help. I was there." Emma studied him for a moment. "Your modesty is admirable, but what you did was exceptional. The doctor said I had minutes before the internal bleeding would have become fatal. You didn't just help me, you saved my life at considerable risk to your own." Jack looked uncomfortable with the praise. "How are you feeling now?" "Much better, thank you. Still some pain, but I'm healing." Emma paused as a staff member served their lunch. "Your supervisor tells me you're one of his hardest workers. 2 jobs, single father. It can't be easy." Jack's expression closed off. "We manage." "Is that why you tracked me down? To offer charity?" "No," Emma said firmly. "I wanted to meet the man behind the act. To understand what drives someone like you." "Someone like me?" "Someone with integrity. It's a quality I've found increasingly rare." She took a sip of water. "Tell me about Lily." The mention of his daughter instantly softened Jack's expression. "She's everything. Smart, kind, stubborn sometimes. She's had it rough since her mom died, but she's stronger than anyone I know." "She looks like you," Emma observed. "Acts like her mother," Jack replied with a sad smile. "Sarah was a kindergarten teacher. She loved working with kids." "I'm sorry for your loss," Emma said quietly. Jack nodded in acknowledgement. What about you? Family? None to speak of. My parents died when I was in college. No siblings. Never married. Emma's tone was matter-of-fact, but Jack caught a flicker of something, loneliness, perhaps, in her eyes. The company became my family, in a way. That sounds lonely, Jack said before he could stop himself. Instead of taking offense, Emma smiled slightly. It can be. But it's the life I chose. Their conversation continued through lunch, gradually becoming more relaxed. Jack found himself surprised by Emma's genuine interest in his life and her lack of condescension. For her part, Emma was refreshed by Jack's honesty and his complete disinterest in her wealth or status. After lunch, they rejoined Lily, who proudly showed them the art project she'd created with Zoe's help. As they prepared to leave, Emma walked them to the door. "Thank you for coming today," she said. "It meant a lot to me." "Thank you for lunch," Jack replied awkwardly. "And for being so kind to Lily." Emma knelt to Lily's level. "It was wonderful meeting you, Lily. You're a very talented artist." As Jack and Lily walked to their truck, Emma called after them. "Mr. Sullivan, Jack. I have a proposition for you. Would you consider letting me help with Lily's education? A scholarship through my foundation." Jack stiffened. "I told you, we don't need charity." "It's not charity," Emma insisted. "It's an investment in a bright young girl's future. No strings attached. Think about it, please. For Lily's sake." Jack hesitated, then nodded curtly before helping Lily into the truck. As they drove away, he glanced in the rearview mirror to see Emma still standing in the doorway, watching them leave. "I like her, Daddy," Lily said. "She's nice." Jack smiled faintly. "Yeah, she is." Over the next few weeks, Jack couldn't stop thinking about Emma's offer. His pride wanted to refuse, but his practical side knew that Lily deserved every opportunity. The local public schools were underfunded, and private education was completely out of reach on his salary. After much internal debate, he finally called the number Emma had given him. To his surprise, she answered personally. "Jack. I'm glad you called. About your offer," he began hesitantly. "If it's really just about Lily's education." "It is," Emma assured him. "No strings, no obligations. Just a chance for a bright girl to have the best education possible." "Then, thank you. We accept." What Jack didn't know was that this call would be the beginning of a relationship that would transform both their lives. Over the following months, Emma became a regular presence in their lives. It started with meetings about Lily's education, then expanded to occasional dinners, weekend outings, and holiday celebrations. For Emma, Jack and Lily filled a void she hadn't fully acknowledged. Their small apartment, cramped but filled with love and laughter, became more welcoming than her expansive, empty mansion. For Jack, Emma's friendship offered not just practical support but intellectual companionship he'd been missing since Sarah's death. And for Lily, Emma became something between a mentor and a mother figure, someone who showed her that a woman could be both powerful and kind, ambitious and caring. 6 months after the accident, Emma invited Jack to coffee. She seemed uncharacteristically nervous. "I have a proposal," she said after they'd settled with their drinks. "A business proposal," she clarified quickly. Jack raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Horizon is launching a new division focused on practical applications of our technology for working-class communities. Tools that make everyday life easier for people who work with their hands. She paused. "I need someone who understands those communities to lead it. Someone with practical knowledge, integrity, and common sense." Jack stared at her. "You can't be serious." "I'm always serious about business," Emma replied. "You have skills I can't find in my usual hiring pool. You understand people I'm trying to reach." The position comes with comprehensive training, of course, and a significant salary increase. I don't have a college degree, Jack pointed out. I've never managed anything bigger than a 3-person maintenance crew. But you have something more valuable, perspective. And you learn quickly. Emma leaned forward. This isn't charity, Jack. It's a business decision. You'd be an asset to my company. Jack was silent for a long moment, turning the coffee cup in his hands. I need time to think about this. It's a big change. Of course, Emma nodded. Take all the time you need. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Jack sat on his worn couch staring at family photos. Sarah smiled back at him from their wedding picture, her eyes bright with hope for their future. What would you do? He whispered to her image. 3 days later, Jack accepted Emma's offer. What followed was a whirlwind transformation. With Emma's guidance, Jack quickly absorbed the corporate world's complexities while bringing his unique perspective to the table. His division, branded Horizon Essentials, developed practical technology solutions for working families and tradespeople, smart tools that were affordable, durable, and genuinely useful. To everyone's surprise except Emma's, Jack thrived. His authenticity resonated with both employees and customers. Within a year, Horizon Essentials became the company's fastest-growing division. As their professional relationship deepened, so did their personal connection. Emma found herself sharing dinners with Jack and Lily several times a week. She helped Lily with science projects and attended her school plays. Jack introduced Emma to the simple pleasures she'd missed while building her empire: community baseball games, backyard barbecues, and the satisfaction of fixing things with your own hands. 2 years after the accident, at Lily's 11th birthday party, Emma watched Jack laughing with his daughter and realized a profound truth: she had fallen in love with this family that fate had brought into her life. That evening, after the guests had left and Lily was asleep, Emma and Jack sat on his porch swing. Thank you, Emma said quietly. For what? Jack asked. For saving my life. Not just that night on the road, but every day since. She took his hand. Before I met you and Lily, I had success but not happiness. I had everything and nothing at the same time. Jack's fingers tightened around hers. You've given us so much. You've given me more, Emma replied. You showed me what really matters. Under a sky full of stars, they shared their first kiss, a beginning neither could have imagined on that rainy night when their paths first crossed. 6 months later, they married in a simple ceremony with Lily as their flower girl. Emma moved into their modest home rather than bringing them to her mansion, saying she preferred a house that felt lived in to a showplace that felt empty. The media exploded with the story: Billionaire CEO marries factory worker who saved her life. Speculation ran wild about Jack's motives, with many assuming he was after Emma's fortune. Emma addressed the rumors head-on in a rare personal interview. Jack didn't want my money when he pulled me from that burning car, and he doesn't want it now. Some people can't understand a relationship not built on advantage or calculation. That's their loss. To silence the critics, Jack insisted on a prenuptial agreement protecting Emma's assets and donated his entire Horizon salary to a foundation supporting single parents, living instead on his original factory wages. 5 years after the accident, their family expanded with the birth of twins, a boy and girl. Lily, now a confident teenager attending the city's best school, embraced her role as big sister with the same determination she brought to everything. Emma continued leading Horizon Technologies, but with a new philosophy that balanced profit with purpose. Jack's division expanded globally, bringing practical technology to working communities worldwide. Together, they created a corporate culture that valued family time and work-life balance, revolutionary concepts in the tech world. Their story became legendary, not just for its fairy tale quality but for how it changed both their lives and countless others through their philanthropic work. The foundation they established helped thousands of single parents access education, housing, and healthcare. On the 10th anniversary of the accident, Emma and Jack returned to County Road 16, standing together at the spot where fate had intervened. The ditch where her car had crashed was now marked with a small plaque, "Where two lives became one story." "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you'd taken a different route that night?" Emma asked, her hand in his. Jack shook his head. "I think we would have found each other somehow. Some connections are just meant to be." As they stood there, their children playing nearby under Lily's watchful eye, they embodied a truth that had touched millions who heard their story, that sometimes, the most extraordinary journeys begin with a simple act of kindness, and that true wealth isn't measured in dollars but in love, purpose, and the lives we touch along the way. The rain began to fall lightly, just as it had that night a decade ago. But this time, they welcomed it together, face turned upward, grateful for the storm that had brought them home to each other.